Howdy everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the aRPG tutorial featuring Legacy of the Wizard. And actually, we are almost done. We're in the final stretch here, just 3 or so different things left to implement, and we will have this all finished. So maybe by the end of next week, everybody. Anyway, so we are going to actually be going into our basement now. Let's see. Our diagram here. We got our overworld, we got our shop, we got item use, everything's done here. So now it's time for us to head into the dungeon. So let's get cracking on that. First things first, we're going to want to come back to our player object here. And what are we going to do with this guy? We need to add in the ability to go into the dungeon. So let's open the step state and add another door here. Alright, this will be the dungeon entrance and meeting. So this will be both for the entrance to the dungeon and the exit to the dungeon. So let's pop this all in here. Object dungeon underscore entrance underscore exit. It's going to be the exact same thing as all these ones, just a single object. And give it a sprite, world, door. That should be all we need to do with it. Now we come over back to our overworld. And let's add this here, so that we can actually go in. Put it right there, actually. And that was kind of part of what gave me a lot of problem with this. Is just I was trying to figure out how in the world sprites would actually, how they go under the ground to some extent. And this was what I came up with, and I figured it's probably a bad idea. So I'll get it better in the next one. Chippendale. So if place meeting, object dungeon entrance, B-box top. So in this case, we want to actually meet with the top of the character's head, because that's just the way it was in the game. So it allows us to go all the way down under the ground, and then we contact it, or it immediately contacts as we're going up. And if we are on the overworld, then set my previous position X and Y to 0, 0, because that's where we want to, well, actually we set to 0, 0 because in the dungeon room we actually just create a new player object right there, rather than right there, rather than transitioning him from one room to the other, because it's easier. It's very simple. And let's see. So previous room X, previous room Y, 0, then do a transition to the dungeon. Go to GOP2. No idea what that is. Object states that input is equal to none and image speed equals 0. That's just the standard way we do it. But if we are coming out of the dungeon room, then set my X and Y to 416 and 220, because that's the location of right here. And then previous room is equal to room, and probably don't really need that there, but I put it in anyways just for consistency. And let's see, fade transition again, go to, and object input state equals none, and of course image speed equals 0. So that'll allow us to transition between the dungeon and the overworld. Also, I think we need something else for this. I can't remember exactly. Oh, yes. We want to make sure our player is facing the right direction when they go into the overworld and when they go into the underworld as well. So I put in this little animation setup here. Just when we are created, if the room is the dungeon, then direction facing is up, because we're going to be on the ladder, so we want to be facing up. And if the previous room is equal to the dungeon, so that means if we came back to the main room, if we came back to the overworld from the dungeon, then of course we'd be on the ladder again looking up. But if we came into the overworld from the shop, then you would be looking down, which is the default position, because we aren't on the ladder then. I could probably have done this differently by just making sure that it set your state to be in the ladder state or something. But that's the way I ended up doing it. So that should get us into the dungeon. So let's check it out. I had a little bit of an extra. This is a different soundtrack that I found for the house, and it is kind of an interesting soundtrack. But you can find it online if you just Google for Unsung Heroes, and it's a album by OC Remix where you can pull it out of. There we go. And everything isn't moved over yet in the dungeon, so I'll need to fix that as well. And of course the camera isn't following us either. That's probably because I don't have a camera object in this room. So we should actually probably fix that. Camera object. There we go. Just put that in there and that should hopefully fix it. Now we need to set up monsters. So create object parent underscore monster. What do you mean parent monster is already in use? And it's probably one of those things from back when I was having trouble with the .yyp. So parent underscore monster 2. And we'll ignore that for the time being. I'll probably change it back in the background between events. And let's see, parent monster. There you go. Do you have anything code associated? No, you don't. The only reason why I had that is because it allows us to detect if we are colliding with a monster. So let's add a monster. Object underscore squidlet. And let's give him a sprite. Characters, enemies, sprite squidlet. And let's add a create, where we'll set up some variables. Let's see, we have the sprite underscore index is equal to sprite underscore monster underscore egg, because when the monster is first created, he starts off as an egg, and then after a couple of frames, he hatches into the monster. Egg timer underscore equals 0. And tile map collisions for him. Hatched equals false. Direction equals 1. And I've made him quite simple because literally this monster, all he does is walk back and forth. So he doesn't really have a lot of interesting things going on with him. So Y speed equals 0. I didn't bother with much, so we just have a speed for our X speed. I don't even know why I bother with a 0 for the Y speed. Don't even need Y speed for him because he doesn't jump or move or anything like that. Damage equals 1. Life underscore equals 3. Iframes equals false. Dead underscore equals false. And we'll get into these ones in a little bit too. But for now, we're just going to be creating the monster. So let's go into the step event. And we are going to want to do the states for him. First off will be his egg state. So if I'm still an egg, flip me around every two frames. So sprite index equals sprite underscore monster underscore egg. If egg underscore timer mod 8 is equal to 0, then image underscore equal times equal -1. So that'll flip me back and forth. And update our egg timer to be slightly higher. If egg timer is greater than or equal to 120, then we have hatched. Sprite is equal to sprite squidlet. Image speed is equal to 0.5. Image index is equal to 0. So we just reset our animation at that point. Then, once we are hatched, what are we going to do after that? Well, there's a lot of different things that we're well, not a lot of other things, but it's mostly just movement code. So if I'm hatched and not dead yet, then image speed equals 0.25. I don't know why I changed it right here versus right here. Probably just legacy. I didn't mean to do that there. I'll leave it in just in case there was something important in between, but I don't think there is. I'm a very stupid enemy, so I don't have much walking to do. This can be broken into states as an optimization step. So left. If dir underscore is equal to -1, then I walk left. Right. If dir underscore is equal to 1, then I walk right. And detect if there's a ledge near me. So tile map underscore get at pixel tile map. My left box minus my speed. So if we were at 32, my left box would be at 16 minus speed, which is 1. So it's checking at 31. And B box bottom plus 1. That'd be just right underneath me. Is that an empty space or is it a wall? If it is, then if either one of these are true, then change my direction to 1. So I start walking right. And again, exactly the same thing, except now we're checking on the right side. So B box right, B box right. If all this, then -1. We are going the other direction. Image underscore x scale is equal to negative direction. So just make sure my image is the right way, and negative direction seems to work for that. And start moving left. X plus equals speed times direction. Very, very simple movement on that end. Alright, so if we take this guy and we add him into our dungeon, let's make sure he's on the ground. Yes, he is. Good. And let me make sure that everything's good for the dungeon room. Let's see, we have dungeon entrance, exit. We're actually going to need that, so there we go. Object player, monster spawner, we'll get to that in a bit. And a chest. No. So, if I don't need all that, then why, if I don't need that in there, then why doesn't my room change? Let's see, do I have something that says, let me check through my code over here to see if I can figure out where in the world it's supposed to do all the dungeon stuff. Oh, that'd be right. It'd be over here. If we go into the camera, room start. Yeah, it says there. Oh. Is the camera persistent? No, it's not visible or persistent. Let's see if we create it somewhere. Oh, yeah. Over in the display manager, we are supposed to create this camera at room start. True, ideal width, ideal height. Object, oh wait, I set it so that if room is equal to room overworld, then you create it. You don't actually have to do that. Now, it just creates it anywhere. And actually, we probably want to do if room equal to there, or room is equal to arm underscore dungeon, because we don't want the camera to be creating in the house or the inventory room or in the shops because we don't need it there. Let's take a look. As you can see, he eggs for a while and then he appears. And there we go. So far, we can't do any interaction with him, but we'll add that in next time, I believe. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and good luck with your coding.